Well, welcome. Good morning. You're looking. I'm all flabbergasted.
What kind of coffee do you have this morning? You didn't get blueberry again, did you?
No, I have tea. That's why.
Oh,
That's,
you're really out of whack this morning.
Good morning. You're watching Morning Coffee. Forget about the tea comment. I'm Keith Reynolds, your host, and with my lovely co-host, Charlene Chamberlain. Char, good morning.
Good morning. Did you have a good weekend?
Yes, it was an eventful weekend.
Valentine's
weekend. A little tired
weekend?
from it, yeah.
Yeah.
So, had a nice, we actually went out to Outback.
Oh, that's
and
good.
My best friend proposed, which
Oh.
I never thought he'd get married.
Wow,
But he found
that's
a great
exciting.
gal, and I was really happy for him.
Congratulations to, who are they?
Wendell Weston and Vicki Simpson.
Congratulations to Wendell Weston and Vicki Simpson.
Yeah. It's
That's
been a long
wonderful.
time.
Have they been together a long time?
They grew up together. She lived behind him, and he's a little older than her.
Uh-huh.
So they've known each other for almost 50 years.
First marriage for both?
Yes. Well, no, second marriage, I
Right.
think, for Vicki. But,
Did they keep in touch all of those years, or was it a
yeah,
reconnect?
his father and her father and Wendell's father were Army buddies.
Wow.
So they, neighborhood,
Right.
and so that's just the way it was, and always knew who she was, and then over the years of us, I won't even begin to tell you all the stories about me and him.
Right.
He decided to get married. It just, yes, I was shocked.
Wow. That's a great story.
It is a great
That's a great
story.
Valentine's weekend story.
Yeah, it was good. It was
well, I
definitely
can't
good.
top that. So on with the show. Good morning,
Good
Keith.
morning. Good morning. So what do we got going on this week, Char?
Well, we have a very special guest this morning, and it's Kate Butler from Decotique, and she sells fine vintage apparel and antiques. But I want to tell you a little bit about Kate. She was previously the media relations coordinator at the University of Pennsylvania Medical Center.
What?
And she decided to really follow her passion and her joy. And she always was a collector, and I've known Kate for quite some years. She always was a collector, but she really decided to go full force into that. And not only is she an avid collector, a restorer, a storyteller, she's also a historical reenactor. And she has several different shows that she tours around the country, which she'll tell us all about in a little bit. So welcome, Kate. It's nice to have you on the show this morning.
Well, thank you. Glad to be here.
Nice to see you.
Thank you.
So, Keith and I would love to know a little bit about your shop, Decotique Antiques.
Yes, well, we're located right on Center Street, North Center Street in Merchantville. Lots of people know where the Blue Monkey is.
Yes, we do.
And if not, Aunt Charlotte's, kind of just down the street.
Yes.
And I'm very happy to be at that location. We also have the Speakeasy coffee shop right inside. So that's another reason to come. So if hubby wants to come, but he's not interested in ladies' jewelry, I usually try to have something there for the gents to look at. And
Smart.
if not, they absolutely can get a great cappuccino that Ron Bechtel, I guess you'd call him a barista.
That's right.
Yes, he serves up a great cup of coffee. So
Nice.
that's pretty much our story, and we're sticking to it. We have events there, sometimes monthly, bi-monthly. One event that's coming up on Friday the 20th is we're having a Marilyn Monroe night, and the fabulous Gabriel will be there to sign his book. He's a musician, he's
An author.
he's an entertainer, and he's now added authorship to his repertoire. So feel free, anybody, to come out. We're going to have a good time. He's going to sign his books. We're going to have big 20%, 40% discounts on things. We have a couple of jewelry designers that will be there, candle makers. Just a nice time, real fun.
And I think you mentioned to me that if anyone wanted to come in their vintage outfits, they could.
Absolutely.
Will you be dressed in your Marilyn outfit?
Well, I don't know about Marilyn, but Marilyn's a little young for me, but I will be someone.
Someone other than Kate Butler.
Right, exactly.
So, Kate, talk about some of the products and the items that you carry in your store.
Well, again, I try to not just gear everything toward the ladies. I have vintage apparel for ladies and gentlemen. We have hats and accessories, all the way from the 1920s up to about 1949. That's the time period. I usually like to think World War II up to that point. And sometimes I go a little further into the 60s if it's something really cool. If it's really cool, it kind of doesn't matter what era it is.
Right.
But normally, generally from the 20s up through World War II. So we've got beautiful jewelry, antique jewelry, Victorian jewelry. We have costume jewelry. And we have, as I say, we have a couple designers that make the jewelries a little modern. But we'd like to have a little bit for everybody. I have lots of ephemera, and for folks who don't know what that is, it is actually things that weren't meant to last. And if you think of, say, baseball tickets from the 1920s,
or newspapers,
or magazines, anything that was made that wasn't meant to last forever. So I have quite a collection of photographs, books, magazines, movie star magazines, the silent film era, and all the way up to the golden age of film. So lots of our clothing reflect that, and lots of the ephemera, now that you know your new word.
Let me ask you a question about that. Is it, being that it wasn't meant to last, by doing something to it to last, does that kill the value of it?
Not necessarily. That's usually when it comes to precious metals.
Okay.
Things like that are things that you don't want to touch, because if you're not really sure how to clean a silver object like a delicate purse or that kind of thing.
Or even clothing.
Or especially clothing. You want to just kind of leave it to the expert if you don't know how to do it. Because if you were to take the example of a piece of silver and you polished it too much, and you polished that beautiful golden patina right off of it, it not only scratches the metal, but it takes away the beauty of the piece.
Right.
So you want to leave that. That's the kind of thing. And the clothing. Good point.
Oh, I know, because I do have a small vintage clothing collection, and I know that a lot of the stitching is, it's coming away. The seams are coming
very
apart
frail
because of the age. It's very fragile, and you can't wear it.
So what do you do?
Absolutely
You steam clean it? I mean, you send it to the
I
laundromat?
just store it, and I call Kate. Just call Kate if you have something old that needs to be repaired.
Absolutely. I have a process. I call it my own organic cleaning process, and actually, it's really not my own. My grandmother and probably her mother before her, when they washed their linens gently, and they put them on by hand, and they put them out back to dry. What I do is, I probably a couple of years ago, I purchased a large collection of wedding gowns, period wedding gowns, and unfortunately they were not kept as they should have been. They were just kind of hanging up and collecting dust. And I had to actually make sure that there were no moths or moths' eggs before I could even think about cleaning them. So they had to go into my freezer. 7 bridal gowns went into my freezer.
To freeze everything.
And for about 4 weeks. Luckily, we were going on vacation for a couple of those weeks. And my husband's only problem was, well, where are you going to put my ice cream?
Right.
But we actually fit all 7 into the freezer, and when we came back, hauled them out. It's a summertime
They defrosted.
They defrosted, and you gently soak them in the bathtub, no detergent, and you kind of get the dust and that kind of thing off, and you rinse them. You lay them in the backyard. My neighbors think that I'm crazy. You lay them in the backyard, and
let the sun take care of it.
The combination of the chlorophyll of the grass and the sun actually does the cleaning and the bleaching without hurting the fabric. But then you got to watch that no moths come back in.
Yeah.
So it's tricky.
Sure it is.
It just gave away a big secret.
Oh, well, I don't know if anybody would really attempt that. Only you. Take the time.
It's the patience of doing that.
Yes. You have to love what you do. You have to love restoring these things.
And a love of history. And speaking of history, Kate also has several, well, you have a handful of reenactments that you provide for various organizations that would be interested in that. Let's talk about those a little bit.
Well, one of the things that I do that's not quite a reenactment is I have a series. It's called Where Fashion Meets History. And I'm a one-woman show. I have things from, let's take for an example, if you were a big Boardwalk Empire fan. I have things from the Prohibition era, as well as the fashions that were popular during that time. So lots of people love that show, and it's actually been a boon for me because it's brought me a lot of business in going out to different historical societies, libraries, whoever will hire me, and I'm able to display original vintage clothing and accessories and to talk about them. And my talks aren't just about fashion. They're about who was the president at the time, what were the economic circumstances, what actually was a ban on alcohol, and how did they enforce it, and why, and how it all came to fruition, who was behind it, and how it wound up, you know, in 1933 being repealed.
Right.
So I walk people through that, and having the visuals to show them with the clothing and with the different items, some which I've brought with me today, really seems to fascinate people, and that makes me very happy.
Well, I think it's really great that you're giving everyone a history lesson. And a lot of people don't realize where things actually began.
Right.
And how they got to where they are today.
Yes, and there is an overlap from the Gibson girl with the tight corsets, the beautiful long hair, which there are many tricks to getting it up that way, and maybe one day we'll talk about that. That's
okay.
that's a show in itself.
A hair show.
Into that kind of flapper, that freewheeling flapper with the bob and less
which just
clothing.
happened on Downton Abbey last week.
Yes. Downton Abbey's a big one, and they do kind of show the transition from the Edwardian era clothing into the flapper era, the Roaring 20s. And then, of course, we go into World War II, where
really
items became very scarce.
Yeah.
I got a question for you. You know, if a viewer or listener is watching the show, and they do have some of that old stuff or items, how would they figure out if they were really authentic? I mean, they obviously would bring it to someone like you.
Right.
But what are some key things that they might be able to start looking for? Like, is stitching a big thing? I mean, I know with women's purses, like
women's purses,
they can find knockoffs really quick by
Oh,
certain things.
today,
Like, I don't
yes.
even know what you're talking about.
Right. Well, that's a good example because that's actually the example I was going to use. If you take a purse maybe from the 1940s and you're not sure, is this the real thing or not? What you can do is actually do a search for different kinds of hardware.
Yes.
The different kinds of piano hinges, any of the parts, the frames, the handles.
The metal, any metal that's
any
on there.
metal, and look and see how it's constructed. And usually you can tell whether it's authentic or not just by the screws. Or the different metals that they used. And now I can kind of just look at something and say whether or not it's authentic to that period, or, well, wait a minute, it might be a little older because they didn't use this particular nail or screw on, you know, past a certain date.
Right.
Right.
You know, because just looking at some of the stuff over there, you know what? I don't think bling ever went away.
No.
Because it's some of that stuff from that era is very blingy.
Well, it's all about bling.
Yeah.
Especially the 19th, the Roaring 20s.
Oh
they
my gosh,
had,
yes.
this is a very subtle example of bling, only because it's not all full of rhinestones. This is a crystal, they're called lariat.
Yes.
And as you notice, it hangs very low, and I have a few other authentic pieces that come way down because the flapper dress kind of just hung
like a shift.
Hung like a shift, and the necklace would be there to decorate all the way down.
Yes.
And
just think of the pearls, the flapper pearls.
yes, the flapper pearls, it's the same idea. I'm fortunate to have the crystal beads, and this was put together by hand, as a lot of this type
Yeah,
were.
beautiful.
And so I kind of wanted to show you a little bit of bling, but this is a subtle bling.
Yes,
Okay.
it's very much subtle bling. If someone wanted to start a collection, say that they did like beaded handbags or gentlemen's bowler hats, how would they start, and where would you suggest that they look for some of these items?
Well, they can be found in many places. Now that I have a shop, lots of times they just walk in the door, so I'm lucky that way. But when I first started out, I kind of was more of a collector, and I would go to flea markets. Estate sales are a biggie, especially yard sales. But most of the stuff I have gotten are just little auctions, just little country auctions. And actually, I've gotten some things from funeral parlors.
Really?
Where many times the funeral parlor is a family-owned business. It goes back generations. And the younger generation wants to kind of clear out and make modern for the new generation.
Right.
So they love when people like me come in and say, we'll come in, we'll go into that barn or that cellar or wherever you have these things stored, and we'll just take them away for you. So that's a little more tricky. It's a little more for the advanced dealer.
Right, and they have to know what they're looking for.
Exactly. And even if you don't, if it's something that you like, I always go by, do I like it? Because if I like it, chances are someone else is going to like it. And go from there.
Yes, absolutely. And we're back from commercial break. I'm Charlene Chamberlain, and you are watching and listening to Morning Coffee. We're here with the lovely Kate Butler from Decotique Antiques and our model, Miss Julianne Curry. And Kate is going to show us some of the lovely things that she has available in her shop.
Great.
So, you just start on this end?
Yes.
This is very intriguing to me. I want to show everyone this.
It's beautiful.
This little box. Little tiny wooden inlaid box with a little bit of paper decal on the front. But when you open it up, look at all those wonderful little things that are in there.
Yes, that's a vanity item from about 1940. It's a complete set, which is rare. And probably the most wonderful thing about a piece like this is it has its original paper ephemera instructions. And Q-Tex is a company that is still in operation today.
One of the top for nails.
Yes, one of the top. And it's a complete set of files, your cuticle cream, your nail polish remover, your files, and these are a wonderful set to have. And lots of times I will get theater people and people looking for props for movies who are looking for this type of thing when they do when they're doing a piece that's era specific. Yes,
this is very interesting too because it's powdered nail polish.
Yes,
powdered polish. It didn't come in a lacquer in a bottle like we have now. Very interesting. Oh, this is something we all have seen, I'm sure, moms and grandmoms.
Yes, I brought that specifically. That jar is about 1940, 1950. It has the faces of the three ladies.
Right.
The blonde, the brunette, and the redhead, which we kind of have here almost. And these three ladies were the logo for Jergens for many years. From the 30s all the way up until today. Jergens is another company that is still making creams and making ladies lovely everywhere.
And it says only $1.25.
Wow.
I wish. Wow. I know. Moving on to some of these other feminine products.
That is a human hairnet.
Human hairnet.
Yes, most hairnets, were, if not all hairnets, were human hair of different colors. Wow. Until about the later 1940s, because synthetic products either weren't available then or they just hadn't discovered the different uses for them. So a hairnet now is synthetically made
In any color.
In any
Right.
color,
Yeah.
and purple is great.
Right.
But the actual early days, it was all human hair, and people say, yuck, yuck. Well, human hair is really not.
And it's resilient.
It's resilient. Right. The quality is much better. I used to collect them. I sell them now. I have my own private collection, but I probably have, I don't know how many hundreds of hair nets that they're all intact, they're all complete, and everything I sell in my shop is authentic. Nothing's made in China.
No.
And the hair
Unless
net,
you want it to be.
unless you want it to be. But for my purposes, I prefer things that are American made, and usually before a certain period they were.
What is this? A century of progress.
Yes, that's also. I have a huge collection, and for sale in my shop of needle books. Needle
Oh,
books.
great.
Needles that you
Yes,
would...
sewing needles.
Oh.
Yes, they're called needle books or needle cards.
This is a needle book? This is big for a
Yes.
needle book. I'm used to the small little packets.
They come in all different shapes and sizes. I have them that are shaped like books. They're shaped kind of, the Sewing Susans are real popular. Lots of people have seen them, but the ones that I have go back much earlier. The one that you just had in your hand was the 1939 World's Fair.
Oh,
Very
really?
cool.
That
Very
is
cool.
really interesting. On to one of my favorite topics, vintage handbags. Look
Okay.
at this. This is just adorable.
So we are getting to our bling again. And
why don't you pop over here and
sure, this one's a
take
little
that
tricky.
one over to that side. And
I sure will. And this is called a dance purse. It's made of very fine mesh, and anyone who is a purse collector will recognize the name of Whiting and Davis.
yes, I know that name.
However, this is not a Whiting and Davis purse. This is an Evans purse. The purse collector would also be familiar with that name because their purses were also included lots of times maybe a beautiful enamel galoche top, which I've also had. I have a couple in my collection. This one is for sale. I've sold quite a few. They're very popular. When you would open it up, you'd have your little pouch.
You could put your dance card in there.
Yes, it would be. Yeah, people. The question is, well, what do people carry here? Well, they weren't carrying cell phones,
No.
and they weren't carrying credit cards.
No.
Just enough maybe for a couple of cigarettes,
Some change,
some
maybe.
change.
Maybe.
But they didn't have to worry about their makeup so much because
That's
here
built
we
in.
have a powder well, and I think
Oh,
that
wow,
the
look at that.
puff is slipped down into the bag here. There is a puff that goes with it. That's the powder well. They would just kind of flip it open,
Wow.
and
look
the
at
powder would be inside. So it would be a refill that would go in there. And this would act as not only a rouge, but it was a lipstick as well. So now we have both today. Back then, we really just used the rouge for
that. One color.
one color for cheeks and lips, and
A mirror.
the mirror, a little piece of metal, and it tucks away, and there we go. Then the lady doesn't have to ask everyone to watch her purse when she goes to the ladies' room, because she could even dance with it
Right.
on the dance floor.
If only it were that easy. Thank you, Kate. Let's pop around here a little bit. I think we're out of the view here. How about this item? This is interesting. Do you have any idea what this is, Julie?
It's beautiful.
I know. Look at the inlay on that.
That actually is another lady's item that she would carry maybe in a small purse. It is actually a lighter,
A lighter.
and if you were to open it up, it's a lighter and a cigarette holder, cigarette case.
Wow. Look at
Today, ladies like to use them for their business cards.
I was about to say that would be the perfect thing.
Yeah.
Yes, the lighter here,
that.
and also
I
under
know what
this
that is.
beautiful galoche decoration.
Makeup?
We also have the powder well and the rouge well.
Interesting.
Yes. So if
So you can be beautiful and smoke at the same time.
and you can be you can not be recycling everything.
And you can start a fire.
And you can start a fire right in your purse. Yes. That would be a heck of a night out. Mm-hmm.
This is my favorite piece right here. Oh my
Yes.
gosh, I love this. Is that gorgeous?
Yeah, that is you.
That is
That is you. That is you.
That is the
absolutely
bling of
stunning.
blings.
Stunning.
That purse is about 1940. It has 1,200 rhinestones, and every one is there. The reason I know there are 1,200
I
rhinestones
know what you're going to say.
is because not I, but the person that I acquired this bag from left a little note inside saying that she counted them.
She counted them?
She counted them and left it inside, and as she was passing it to me, let me know that, and there is not one missing.
That's
So
amazing.
that's, yes.
Very
Beautiful.
amazing. I'm wondering if maybe this really wasn't used very much, maybe only special occasions.
Could be, or those
Yeah.
bags were just very well made.
Yeah, it's absolutely beautiful. And speaking of bags, here's another sweet little bag with a ring.
Yes, that is from the 1920s, maybe early 30s. Dogs were a big part of fashion.
Mm-hmm.
That particular dog, I think it's an Afghan.
It is an Afghan.
Yes,
Right? Isn't that Afghan?
yes. Sometimes
That's
they were
cute.
made with real fur.
Very cute.
Hmm. And here we have, this is more of a Homburg type hat. And
That's a gentleman's hat.
this is a gentleman's hat, of course. And I am just going to
Here we
give
go.
you a little...
I bet you it's not going to fit. I have a huge head.
Well, and actually, this is the problem with vintage
Kind of a Boy
hats.
George's hat.
Lots of them are very small.
Right?
Hats back in the day also indicated what station
Yes.
in the world that you would be. If you were a bowler, you were in management. If you were a Homburg, you were top
An
executive. Yes.
Right. See, there
On
you
top.
go.
Okay.
This
This is beautiful.
is an original
Beautiful.
1920s wedding veil.
Beautiful.
And as I mentioned before, I do have the gowns
Mhm.
that go with the veils. I just thought I'd bring you a little example of that. Incredibly fragile.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about our model, though. You told me something fun about her earlier.
The model, her name is Catherine, and the reason why is the original owner of this particular mannequin ran a Woolworths chain back many years ago, and the daughter who acquired the pretty head when the store closed, her mother's name was Catherine, the proprietor. So this was the only thing she took.
Aww.
And she gave it to me, and forever she is treasured as
And this
my
is Catherine from Woolworths.
Catherine.
Catherine Woolworth.
Catherine Woolworth.
That's
yes,
right.
Mhm.
And she has a beautiful necklace on. Is that
Mhm.
20s?
That is probably about 1940,
Oh,
and
40s,
it
okay.
is. Well, they swap styles.
Right.
Styles come and go.
Because the centerpiece looks more deco-y to me. Or
Yes, it probably isn't as old as that, but it could very likely they have copied the style. Mhm. And if we look here, now I really do
Uh-oh,
need
here
you,
we go.
Julie, as a model.
Uh-oh.
There were lots of feathers, lots of really cool hats in different shapes and
Here's your hat.
sizes, and it could be
There
worn
you go.
many different
There
ways.
you go.
Sometimes the lady would have a veil
Right.
that would kind of come right under here. That would make her look extra sexy. So
Well-
actually, this blends very well with your
Hair
hair.
color.
Yes, so we have that. And while you're wearing
yes.
Oh, well, now that's a
I
definite.
think you're going to be ready
That's-
to go back to the office.
That's
now.
a definite. Yeah.
Oh,
I like this.
Many people. Yes, let's just get so you're not all feet in the air. Let's figure out. Sometimes they're a little tricky. These are actually.
Is that called a Kalinsky? What
Yes,
that
this
called?
is a Kalinsky.
That's what I
I'm
thought.
not exactly sure
Why?
why, and I should know that.
Because what is the animal really?
This is a mink.
I
They're
should know that,
minks.
shouldn't I?
These are little minks, and I call this my chocolate mink. They come in blondes, and they come in different. They come as redheads.
Yes, my grandmother had a couple
Yes,
of
they
those.
can be dyed.
Yes.
And every woman worth her salt wore one of these back in the
Oh, yeah.
20s and 30s. You
Right.
see them
Gorgeous.
all the way up to the 40s. Lots of people don't care for these. My personal belief is, well, they're already here. So
Yeah.
instead of taking their lives in vain, let's just kind of
Embrace it.
embrace and celebrate our minks.
Mm-hmm.
And it's warm.
And it's warm,
And that was the purpose,
right?
mostly to be worn.
Right. And
and
if you were anybody back then, you had mink.
you had mink.
Something mink.
Yes.
Whether it was a muff, a hat,
Yes.
a Kolinsky.
Yes. And again, in my shop, Decotique, you will find all of these things. And you look gorgeous.
You do.
Thank you so much.
And on that note, we're going to go to commercial break. We'll be right back with Kate, and she'll fill us in on how you can find her shop and some of her events that she has going on at her shop, which will be happening probably within the next couple of months. So we'll be right back. And we're back with Kate Butler from Decotique, Antiques and Collectibles.
Mm-hmm.
Kate, how can our viewers find you? What's
Okay.
your store location and your website?
The store location is 13 North Center Street, Merchantville, New Jersey, about a mile or two from the Cherry Hill Mall, and right over the bridge, Ben Franklin Bridge. And what else did you want to know?
Web address, your website.
Oh, the web address is, if you go to artdecotique.com, my scheduled events will be there, and lots of articles and things like that. And decotique.com is my online shop.
Online shop, we didn't even talk about that.
Mhm.
So are most of the items, well, I'm sure not most of them, but some of the items that you have in the shop?
Some
Also
I'm very
online.
behind with listing things on my website. So
But if someone has a particular interest in a line of, say, beaded handbags, they could reach out to you and ask you, what do you have in the store right now? Or what do
Absolutely.
you have online that's available for
oh
sale?
yes, absolutely, and I can be contacted through the Decotique website. There's a contact us button page, and
Right.
just send me an email and I'll be glad to answer any of your questions.
And also, I would think if someone has something that they would want valued or to sell, they could contact you as well.
You can. I do informal evaluations. I don't like to charge. I don't like to give official appraisals, because if someone wants to sell me something, then I can't buy it.
Oh.
It would be considered
Yeah.
unethical. So
I'm sure.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Let's tell our viewers a little bit about the events that you have coming up at the store again.
Yes, we do have this Friday, the 20th, February 20th, from 7 to about 10. We have the signing of The Lost Diary by the fabulous Gabriel, and he is fabulous. So otherwise he wouldn't be in my shop.
And it's a Marilyn Monroe event
Yes.
for all you Marilyn fans.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And earlier today you told me about another reenactor,
Mm-hmm.
another reenactment that you do.
Yes, I
It's a very
started.
famous
Mhm.
historical woman.
Yes, I started a new series called Notorious Women of History, and first on deck is Lizzie Borden. I have performed Lizzie 3 times, and my next performance will be at the historic Collings Night House
That's
in
a great place.
Collingswood, and that will be on Saturday afternoon, March 14th, 2 to 4 p.m., and Lizzie would love to see you there.
Tell our viewers a little bit about Lizzie, for those that don't know who she is.
Lizzie Borden was a woman who basically was accused of murdering her parents in the early 1890s, 1892. She went to trial and she was acquitted. And the reason why was because back in the Victorian days, women just couldn't do such a heinous act.
No.
Well, maybe
She
maybe
did.
she could. Maybe she did. Maybe she could. But you won't know the whole story unless you come and see the performance.
And on that note, thanks for watching Morning Coffee. Thanks, Kate Butler, for being our
Well,
wonderful
thank
guest
you.
today. It was nice to see you again. And friends and viewers, please stop in and visit Kate at Decotique Antiques in Merchantville, New Jersey. You won't be disappointed.
Thanks.